Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be going through an action thriller film entitled The Rock. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. On a rainy day in the U.S. National Cemetery, Brigadier General Francis Hummel visits his wife's grave. He utters words to her grave about planning a course of action against the government to avenge the fallen U.S. Force Recon Marine soldiers under his command. One night in a naval weapon depot, Hummel and his men, now mercenaries, pretends to be a security inspection team to enter the headquarters unsuspiciously. Once inside, they shoot on guards and steal their access cards to enter the naval weapons storage facility. Hummel orders Major Tom Baxter to steal a stockpile of 16 VX gas-loaded M55 rockets. His men carefully carry the rockets, however, one of them accidentally drops one of the VX gas glass ball on the ground. Consequently, Tom locks the mercenary who drops the toxic gas inside the facility to not expose them all. Swiftly, the gas penetrates the mercenary's skin and damages his entire body, making him fall dead instantly. The next day in Alcatraz Island, tourists are having their tour at the Rock federal prison. The tour guide allows them to experience imprisonment by entering the prison cell. However, Hummel and his men arrive to capture the tour guide and prison guards and hold hostage of the tourists inside the cells. Later on, other mercenaries arrive at the prison through military aircrafts. Hummel welcomes them and they set up all their weapons, equipment and stolen gas-loaded rockets to the whole prison. Thereafter, Hummel warns his men of the risk of their planned illegal operation. They'll be labeled as traitors and punished for their action if they fail their mission, he utters. Authoritatively, Hummel demands his men to avenge their fallen comrades who were denied compensation and justice for their deaths. As their mission begins, Hummel contacts FBI Director Womack to notify him of their 81 hostages and gas-loaded rocket that will launch if the government will not pay $100 million within the next 40 hours. If the government fails to meet their terms, Hummel will order the launch of the rocket to San Francisco that will kill thousands of lives when it detonates. During a meeting in the Pentagon, San Francisco, government and military authorities devise a plan to take down the mercenaries. They plan to not give compensation to mercenaries, thus, form a U.S. Navy SEAL team with an expert on chemical weapons to come with them on their attack on the Rock. Moreover, they plan to order their Navy SEAL team to penetrate the prison through the underground tunnel. Without an accurate architectural map of the prison, Womack suggests taking a prisoner on the mission who once escaped the Rock through the tunnel. As the authorities end their discussions, Womack contacts Goodspeed, an FBI professional chemical biologist, to order his immediate departure to San Francisco. Then, the authorities visit John Mason, a prisoner and professional escapee, to bribe a pardon if he helps the Navy SEAL team to enter the Rock. However, Mason does not intend to take their deal. As Goodspeed arrives in San Francisco, he is immediately sent to meet Mason to attempt to persuade him to join the Navy SEAL team on their mission. Goodspeed talks with Mason about their mission. Mason demands a VIP hotel accommodation to unwind while he decides whether to help them or not. Goodspeed agrees to his term. As they arrive in the hotel room, Mason devises a plan to escape the guards with him. When the guards are preoccupied, Mason hastily flees the hotel building. He steals a car and escapes whilst Goodspeed and the police officers follow him. As the chasing continues, the city of San Francisco is in total chaos. Mason manages to lose them and heads to secretly meet his daughter, Jade. Meanwhile, Goodspeed manages to find him and reports his location to the police. Mason, conversing with Jade, is immediately handcuffed and arrested by the police. When they return to the FBI headquarters, Mason and Goodspeed cooperate with the Navy SEAL team. The Navy SEAL team notifies them of what to expect once they arrive in the Rock. With 15 hours left before Hummel orders the launch of a gas-loaded rocket, the Navy SEAL team together with Mason and Goodspeed, swiftly rides the military aircraft going to Alcatraz Island. Inside the aircraft, the Navy SEAL team gives Goodspeed and Mason their weapons and teaches them how to use the green flare to signal the authorities if the rockets have been neutralized. As they land near the island, they penetrate their way in the Rock underwater so they'll be undetected. Mason opens the door for them by rolling his way in the fire leading to the entrance. As they quietly go their way up the manhole leading to the shower room, the mercenaries detect movement through their installed motion sensor placed on the manhole. As the mercenaries discover they've been invaded by the Navy SEAL team, they deploy and swiftly flee to the shower room. Unaware of being detected, the Navy SEAL team goes up the manhole and scatters on the corners of the shower room. Goodspeed and Mason remain in the tunnel while they wait for their go signal from the team. Unfortunately, the Navy SEAL team is surrounded by armed mercenaries in an elevated position. Commander Anderson, leader of the Navy SEAL team, persuades Hummel and the mercenaries to surrender. However, Hummel remains firm to his conspiracy, thus making Anderson open fire at them. The Navy SEAL team opens fire at the mercenaries whilst Hummel orders cease fire from his men. Sadly, due to the loud firing sound, the mercenaries fail to hear Hummel's order and end up killing all the Navy SEAL members. When the firing stops, Hummel devastatingly argues with his men for not following his order. In their defense, they expected a massacre to take place sooner or later. Aware that the Navy SEAL team died, Goodspeed burst into tears. With him and Mason left, they have to fight the mercenaries on their own. Mason, about to take his chance to escape the tunnel, is halted by Goodspeed. Goodspeed enlightens him about the VX gas-loaded rocket that will kill them both, including all the living organisms in San Francisco. Mason grows frightened as Jade, his only daughter, may die as well. So, he decides to help Goodspeed in defusing the rockets and fighting the mercenaries. While Goodspeed and Mason converse, the mercenaries hear their voice coming from the tunnel. The mercenaries discovers that there are still survivors and they throw bombs on the tunnel to kill them. Mason and Goodspeed quickly run away from the bomb before it explodes. Thereafter, they, undetectably head to the prison morgue where 13 rockets are placed. The mercenary guarding the rocket grows surprised as he sees Goodspeed and Mason. Mason swiftly throws a knife to the mercenary's neck to not alert his comrade. Carefully, Goodspeed disassembles the rocket to remove the VX gas glass balls and break the guidance chip underneath. As the chip is removed, it goes unregistered to the mercenary's rocket system, which alerts the mercenaries that there's still survivors. Consequently, the mercenaries rush to the morgue to kill the remaining survivors. When they arrive, Goodspeed has already disabled 13 gas-loaded rockets and is quickly fleeing the morgue. Then, Goodspeed and Mason fall to a mine cart and are being dragged to the rail maze without knowing where it leads or when it'll stop. Unexpectedly, the cart goes hanging with Mason in it. Goodspeed, on the other hand, manages to hang up a metal cart to climb and hide from the incoming mercenaries. While Goodspeed is hiding inside the metal cart, Mason unnoticeably pours kerosene on the feet of the approaching mercenary. He lights a match and throws it in the kerosene to set the mercenary on fire. Consequently, the mercenary on fire panics and alerts his comrade. The armed mercenaries rush to the scene and see Goodspeed in the metal cart. They unstoppingly open fires at the metal cart and throw grenades at it. Quickly, Goodspeed throws the grenade back at them, which explodes to them instantly. Then, Goodspeed's cart starts moving and gets chased by the mercenaries through another metal cart. Mason combats the mercenaries and Goodspeed fearingly shoots at the mercenary to save Mason. After a while, Hummel discovers that the survivors has taken 13 guidance chips. He takes one hostage to threaten the survivors over the loud microphone that he'll kill the hostage if they do not surrender the chips. Mason, hearing the announcement, forcibly grabs the chips from Goodspeed and destroys it by stamping his foot on it. Mason devises a plan to surrender to Hummel while he buys Goodspeed some time to locate and defuse the 3 remaining activated rockets. Thereafter, Mason calmly walks his way to Hummel's position. The mercenaries point their rifles at him and he begins to introduce himself to them. Hummel hits Mason in the back and makes him confess to where the chips are. Mason confesses to have destroyed it, so Hummel grows furious and holds him captive in the prison cell. After some time, Goodspeed manages to locate one of the activated rockets. He quickly removes the chip inside the rocket, but 2 mercenaries catch him. The mercenaries beat and hurl him through the window. Luckily, they don't plan to kill him, so they hold him captive instead. With 1 hour left before the remaining 2 activated rocket strikes, Goodspeed and Mason are stuck in their separate prison cells. With no other survivors to defuse the remaining rocket, Mason strategizes his way to escape his cell and opens Goodspeed's separate cell as well. When they manage to escape their cell, Mason flees the prison while leaving Goodspeed all on his own. Goodspeed furiously chases him to persuade him to stay and finish the mission together. However, Mason continues to leave while Goodspeed returns to the prison to finish the mission. When he returns, a mercenary points his rifle at his head. Goodspeed fearingly persuades the mercenary to cooperate with him, but he claims to not intend to switch sides. Unexpectedly, Mason returns to his rescue and kills the mercenary. Fortuitously, Mason firmly decides to help Goodspeed to finish their mission. Meanwhile, the mercenaries grow thrilled from their incoming rocket strike. Hummel gives the other the launch and his men follow his order instantly. As the rocket launches, it speedily flies on the sky, dropping to San Francisco. Suddenly, it changes its direction, heading to an open sea instead of the city. Then, it detonates underwater, making the mercenaries confused by the sudden changes. Tom, aware that Hummel aborts the planned target, confronts Hummel with his unnoticed change of plan. With Hummel having second thoughts with their plan, Hummel claims to not intend to kill thousands of lives. Later on, the mercenaries furiously confronts Hummel as well. Knowing that the authorities will not provide the money they asked for, Hummel declares their mission is over yet, the mercenaries persist to launch the last rocket either way. When Hummel orders them to stop, the mercenaries open fire at him and Tom, making them fall dead instantly. Mason and Goodspeed witness the whole situation. Goodspeed heads to the last rocket's location while Mason attacks the remaining mercenaries that killed Tom and Hummel. When Goodspeed instantly finds the last rocket, he disassembles it and removes the chip underneath the VX gas glass balls. One of the VX gas glass balls almost broke into pieces. Luckily, he manages to grab it and places it in his pocket. Then, Captain Fryer, a mercenary, chases after Goodspeed. Fryer shoots at him but he misses. Goodspeed forcibly places the VX gas glass ball in Fryer's mouth, which later on melts his entire skin and eventually kills him. Due to the lost contact from Goodspeed and Mason to Womack, the government authorities have declared that they have failed the mission. Thus, the US president approves the thermal destruction of the entire Alcatraz island to not make the remaining rocket launch. With this, the authorities grow worried as the 81 hostages including Mason and Goodspeed will die unfairly. Soon later, military jets are flying over Alcatraz Island to bombard the whole island including the rock prison. Goodspeed sees them from afar, thus, lights the green light flare to signal the success of defusing all the rockets. The pilots see him and abort their mission. However, one of the pilots drops the bomb to the prison and detonates. Consequently, it throws Goodspeed into the bay. Thereafter, Mason sees him and dives into the bay to save him. When the radio contact in the island returns, Goodspeed immediately reports the completion of the mission to Womack. He also reports the death of Mason to make Mason a free man again. Later that day, the military and government authorities pick up Goodspeed in the prison and save the 81 hostages locked in their cells. Sometime later, Goodspeed marries his pregnant fiancée and drives away from a church in Kansas. Subscribe for more videos, and click the notification bell for updates. Thanks for watching.